All right. Welcome, everyone. This is, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for taking time tonight to come out here for our very first CWCT alumni and graduate panel. I hope that if you're a current student out there, I hope that maybe you'll be a member of one of these one day. That would be really awesome. But for now, thank you so much for coming out. I'm going to do a quick introduction of myself. I'm going to introduce our panelists real quick, or at least quickly, and then let them introduce ourselves. And then tonight is going to be just a night of a handful of questions that I have, and I'm going to do the best job I can to moderate. And then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. I did turn on the Zoom Q&A feature. I have absolutely no idea how it works besides what I Googled. It's my first time. I think it's a pretty new feature. So if there's something you see on your screen that allows you to like plug in a question, that's fine. But please use the comment section. We have a few CWCT staff members tonight that'll be helping us out. So my name's Steve Olson, and Chrissy, I'm sharing my screen. You can see the panel. Awesome. So my name's Steve Olson, Army vet. I work full time as a system administrator here at UNC Charlotte. I work part time for the CWCT program. Been with it for the last 4 years. If you are, most of the folks out there are probably current students, but if you are a prospective student or you saw something on LinkedIn, we are a consortium. And you see about 4 universities up there: Purdue University Northwest, Ivy Tech, University of Tennessee Chattanooga, and UNC Charlotte. So together we make up a group of colleges that are using a federal grant to provide this cybersecurity training primarily to our U.S. military and our veteran community, and also first responders and law enforcement. And if you are here and you are not in either of those categories, you are welcome as well. Historically, we have allowed a small section of those that don't fit in those groups to join our program. So tonight is an alumni panel. So I reached out to a few of our graduates that had previously done a testimonial and said the program did something for them, either professionally or personally. And I reached back out to a handful of them, and I'm very, very happy that they're here tonight. So I'll let them introduce themselves in the order that you see on the screen, but I'll quickly just go through and say tonight we have Octavius, Hugh, Margarita. I think Brad will be joining us soon, and if I see Brad, please let me know, and I'll spotlight him. And Charles and Michael, who have all been in the CWCT program and have graduated. I'll have a handful of questions for them tonight, but really, it's not about me. I'm a talking head for most CWCT things, so I'll try and keep it to just questions tonight and a little bit of moderation. So, Octavia, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the group, and then we'll kind of go down the list with Hugh after you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Octavius. I started in the CWCT program. I believe it was in somewhere around March, April 2023. I completed the system administration track, and I took some classes in digital forensics and in the AI track as well. I really enjoyed the program. I got a bunch of certifications, and it was fun to meet some cool instructors and some cool students along the way. So that's a quick intro for me.
Hi, everyone. My name's Hugh Shepard. I am an IT consultant, do freelance work, been involved in IT and telecom for over 25 years, various capacities, various companies. Been in the CWCT program. I believe I started 2023. And I initially was in the AI track, which I completed. And I've continued on taking some courses here and there from the different tracks, system admin and forensics. So yeah, it's been a good experience, and really enjoying it so far.
Hello, everybody. My name is Margarita Giron, and I started the CWCT in the spring of 2023, and I completed my track in spring of 2024, so just this year. And I took the digital forensics track, really loved it. During my track, I also got into OSINT, and so that's kind of where I've been. Kind of my specialization has been forensics and OSINT for the time being. I am currently looking forward to start my career in intelligence, and I'm also looking forward to taking additional classes since I'm done with my track CWCT is a great program. I can't wait to hear from us so we can share throughout this time.
And I think we'll bump to you, Charles. I'm not sure Brad is with us yet, but if so, I'll pull him in later.
Okay, excellent. Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Mason. I first started CWCT back in August of 2021. Since then, I was off and on again. I was retiring from the military at the time, so I'm a 20-year Army vet. How's the program helping me? A lot. It's been a lot going on since then. I started in cybersecurity. I moved into, sorry about that, moved into DevOps, a little bit of software programming. And then now currently I'm employed with Johnson & Johnson through the research and development department, working on a lot of different things through AWS. I would definitely say that CWCT has given me the knowledge, at least the baseline to be successful at this point. And I hope I could pretty much tell you what the program has to offer, some things to prepare for, and anything I could do to help you along your way.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Alvarado. I'm a CWCT alumni. I'm a former Army veteran. I was a communication engineer, a couple of deployments out in the Middle East. I left the military and became a firefighter for 15 years. After suffering an injury, career-ending injury, I decided I wanted to do cybersecurity, and I started with CWCT. It really laid down the roots, the foundation to begin a career in cybersecurity. I was able to get 3 certifications, the Security Plus, the Cisco CyberOps, and the Certified Ethical Hacker certification from CWCT. I then went into SANS Institute and continued my studies there. And just recently, I passed the finish line. I was offered a role in cybersecurity in the financial sector. So I give a lot of credit to CWCT and everything it's done for me.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everybody, for that introduction. I think that's perfect. And as many of you can see, we've got a bit of a diverse group here, a lot of different military branches. We have some first responders, firefighters, law enforcement. We have some civilians. I think that's what makes our community really beautiful. So thank you all so much for being here and for being welcome to do this panel. If any of you want to drop your LinkedIn, if you're comfortable with doing so, in the chat. I know many of our participants will probably like to connect with you or at least follow you, so please encourage you to do so. So some of you already kind of hit on this, but and talked about what the CWCT program kind of did for you. But I'd like to start my question first with I'm going to go to Octavius first. Octavius, can you describe kind of overall what was your experience with CWCT, and if there were any highlights, I would love to hear what those highlights were.
Yeah, my experience was awesome. Um, I learned a lot. I had done a lot of studying and practicing on my own in a lot of the areas that were covered in the program, but it just exposed me to a lot more to add into my toolbox. The program was super hands-on, and so like I mean, a couple of my classes were labs completely and reading on your own time basically. And like the whole program is pretty much hands on. So that's the highlight for me, I think. Yeah.
I think that's good to hear. I appreciate you talking about the hands-on thing too. Hugh, same question for you, and thank you, Octavius. Hugh, what do you, if you could just kind of give us a general overview of your experience at CWCT and any highlights you had that you thought were pretty neat.
Sure. The experience has been amazing. I kind of stumbled on the program, knowledge about it, that it existed. And I live overseas. I live abroad, in Asia. And I was at first, I was like, being international and being remote, I won't be able to participate in the program. But, once I found out that, that wasn't an issue, the time difference wasn't an issue as far as like attending classes, that really blew my mind. And that was a highlight, before I even started, just finding out that it was that accessible to folks that were abroad or, in different time zones. Also, to kind of piggyback on what Octavius was saying, hands-on aspect of majority of the classes. A lot of lab work has been very beneficial and a big highlight for me, because it's just giving me a opportunity to, because I primarily have been on the GRC side or the compliance side of IT and cyber the past few years. So being able to do some of the labs and get that hands-on experience again was really great, and I really enjoy it and enjoying it still.
Well, thank you, Hugh. That's perfect. Margarita, same question over to you. So tell us a little bit about your experience in CWCT and then any highlights.
Hey, as far as for me, my knowledge in cybersecurity was very minimal when I came into the program. I started my cyber journey just the year prior, so that was like fall 2022. So I was really looking forward to starting the program. I think for me, the highlights for sure, I will agree, the labs, the hands-on, that was one of my favorite parts, that I could schedule that whenever I wanted to, when it was convenient. If I wanted to get up at 1 in the morning and do labs, I could. I also enjoyed that I could, if I was unable to like attend the course live, I could watch it within my own convenience, just make sure I wasn't falling behind and watching it when I should. And then another aspect I really enjoyed was I actually was able to make connections with the instructors. I did find the instructors that were able to provide me more feedback. I could ask more questions. I could send them an email. I really enjoyed, and I made a special bond with some of my instructors. Another aspect was networking. We actually built our own little community. I'm not sure what about the rest of the alumni, but when I was in the program, there was a Discord server that was made for the students and for the alumni. It was a perfect platform for us to connect. We were able to see who's doing what track. We were able to give each other tips. And it was just a great way for us to build community and network. And that's another thing I really enjoyed about it.
That's perfect, Margarita. Thank you. And I love your plug for Discord. I think that's such a great, I know a lot of folks in IT love that for all sorts of reasons, but I love seeing it work for career development, networking, and all that as alumni. Well, thank you. Charles, you're up next. Tell us what your experience was like. Any highlights?
Well, first of all, I went through the system administration track, so I can see the highlight was definitely more along the lines of getting to know other people. There were a lot of people that were transitioning from the military and retiring, just like I was. There was also a lot of people from different areas that were either entering cybersecurity or had some kind of background, but they just wanted a different way or a different track. I think that's the best thing about this program, because cybersecurity does offer like the baseline of IT in general. From cybersecurity, you can go anywhere. Additionally, I had a lot of medical issues, and I don't mind discussing this, but I had a lot of medical issues that I needed to resolve after 20 years of being in the Army. And I was able to start and stop some of them with the help of Chrissy and Amber. And I appreciated that greatly, because, if I told them like, hey, I had some stuff coming up and I don't know if I'd be able to finish this course, they're like, got it. We'll give you a couple chances, based on the policy. Same thing with certifications, a lot of flexibility, which is really, really important, because life has a way of throwing curveballs at you. So I really close to my heart. I truly appreciated that. But as everybody else said, the work, if you make the time to do work, at least a couple hours a day, it doesn't, I would say, get overwhelming, but some of the labs are pretty interesting. It gives you the knowledge and the skills to be successful. And like I said, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and a program like this is very rare.
Well, thanks, Charles. I especially appreciate you saying that about just the flexibility with starting and stopping. I know we kind of all in the staff members, we wanted to try and make it accessible, especially with the military population, but I'm glad to hear it actually worked out in practice. So thank you. Michael, last but not least, tell us a little bit about your experience in the program. Any highlights that you think are worth noting?
Sure. And just to echo what Charles and Margarita were saying about networking, and just to let everybody know, I mean, it's so important really to get yourself out there, communicate with your peers, with your instructors, and get to know everybody in the community, because, all in all, the cyber community in and of itself is a small community. You'll start to come across people that you meet along the way, but it's very important. And I think CWCT does that for you. It gives you the opportunity to get together with like-minded people and share experiences and talk. And it's a really cool community. The program itself is very well organized, very well laid out. You know, my hat's off to Christy and Amber and yourself, Steve. And I'm not just saying that just because I'm here. You guys are very professional. I never had any issues with the entire process. You know, emails are just answered quickly and effectively, and the whole process is just fantastic from beginning to end. The instructors are great. They're serious. They want to be there. They give you the tools. They give you the material that you need to succeed. Now, it's really up to the student to take it to the next level. They do give you the stuff, but you really have to study on your own to pass these certifications. It's like any other test. But the class material is on point, and I can say that for sure because I've gotten 3 certifications from CWCT. I think one of the highlights, and it goes back to networking for me, was taking the Cisco Cyber Ops course. That to me, it opened up my eyes to what the field of cybersecurity really looks like in reference to attackers and how they intercept transmissions. They use a program called Packet Tracer that allows you to set up small mini networks in a lab type environment, and you can see where the attacks actually happen and what they look like, and that gives you the ability to identify them and to be able to defend against them. So I thought that was really great, and specifically that instructor of the Cisco CyberOps, Benjamin Marrero. This goes back to networking. I got to talking to him. He heard my story. He heard all the challenges that was happening, all the things that I was going through, and to try to pivot into cyber. He connected me with Cisco. Cisco took in my story and created a success story on their website based on my story. So that gave me a lot of exposure. It was a beautiful gesture, and I'm so appreciative to that gesture from Mr. Marrero and Cisco. But it just goes down to networking, really communicating with people and talking. And again, the cybersecurity community is great, very supportive. So yeah, it's been a great process with CWCT. Thank you.
No, it's great to hear, Michael. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's a really good overview. I'll make sure Professor Marrero hears that, or at least sees that clip of the recording, because he'll appreciate that. And thanks for including me with the kudos to Chrissy and Amber. They run the program. I'm a talking head, but I don't mind being included for the sake of that one. Well, that's great. I got another question. I'm going to do a little bit of a popcorn, and then the question after that I'll probably leave open to the group. For this one, I'll just kind of randomly call on y'all if that's cool. But again, jump in anytime you want. We're going to kind of get into the nitty gritty for those tuning in. I really want to talk about how CWCT really prepared you for cyber specifically, and whether you were currently in the IT role, whether you did that in the military or not, whether you are brand new to the industry and CWCT helped prepare you for it. I'd love to hear your honest opinion about what that was like. So the question, I'm going to start with Margarita, if that's okay. The question is, how did the CWCT program prepare you for the job market, specifically in cybersecurity? And I'll give you a little like asterisk, like or IT, because I know that that's kind of like an enveloping term. So again, how did the CWCT program prepare you for the job market in cybersecurity?
Thank you for choosing me first. How did it prepare me? I think honestly, I really enjoyed that we take the fundamentals first, that we start with A+. I really needed it. I was making a big jump, and I mean that might not be true for everyone, but for me it was. So I really needed to make sure I understood the foundations of cyber. That's crucial, very crucial. And then for sure, like I would like to mention again, the labs. I cannot just keep saying how the labs, I really enjoyed the labs. For me, especially the forensics labs, because again, I'm into forensics. I really enjoyed that, being able to not just learn and see what we're studying, but being able to actually do it and recreate it in the lab work somewhere that I was safe. I was able to kind of connect the dots, and that really prepared me for, what's to come. Another way it really helped me, not to do it specifically with the classes, but again, just the networking aspect. I'm not sure about the rest of the alumni, but when I came in, a lot of us did not have much of a network. We had maybe a few followers, connections on LinkedIn. We really worked on, expanding our network and connecting with one another and swapping our resumes, getting ourselves insight. I will throw in a tidbit on there too. I know through Ivy Tech, maybe you can expand on this later, Steve. I know with Ivy Tech, they did provide like a resume review or something like that, like a career services. I'm not sure if they still do that, but I do remember that was going on during my time. So we use that. And again, just being able to connect with the instructors and just kind of get in feedback from them of what it's like. I know for sure for a lot of my instructors, they provided real feedback of what the job would look like because a lot of them were already in the job. I will throw out the instructors I really enjoyed learning from were my forensics, of course. I had John and then I had Chuck. They were the best. And I think with John's class, I remember we even were allowed and we worked on an actual case. And for me, that was like, wow, I actually got to see what it would be like to extract data from a cell phone. I mean, this was hands-on, real scenario. It really helped me prepare for what's to come. And I think it was Charles who said, you can't really, I have not seen another program like this. There's a lot of programs out there with limitations. And so I feel like this has really been essential and beneficial for me.
It's a really good answer, Margarita. Thank you. And I don't think you're the only one with your comment about networking and all that. I didn't even have a LinkedIn when I started working for this program. I was like, oh goodness, what is this LinkedIn thing? And for those out there, I'll try and link it at some point. We actually had LinkedIn come and talk to us about like rock your profile, they call it, one of their creative directors, and they showed us how to make a really good profile because some X amount of percentage of jobs are actually gotten through LinkedIn, as many of you can attest to. So but thanks, Margarita. That's an excellent answer. I'm going to hop it over to Hugh, put you on the spot if you don't mind. So, same question to you as well. I'll repeat it again. How did the program prepare you for the job market in cyber? Thanks, Margarita. Hugh, you got the board.
Okay, yeah, sure, no problem. I mean, even though I had been working in IT and cyber all my career, since I was in the Army in the Signal Corps in the 90s. But then since I've been living abroad, I've been doing freelance work, very sporadic. So I hadn't really held down a full-time job in a while. And even prior, when I was working, like my last job before moving overseas, it was more kind of hands-on, not hands-on. It was more on the policy and compliance side of cyber. So, so getting involved in the CWCT program again was like a refresh to my skill set. It was like a boost to my credibility because I was able to start going down paths of IT and cyber I never hadn't explored before, like AI, forensics, and even system admin. I mean, I had done system admin work previously here and there, in some capacities, but definitely was outdated. So it was good to take some of those courses. And in the A plus, a lot of people, even though I've been in IT for a while, I've enjoyed the A plus and prepping for the exam because I'm still prepping for the certification exam. But it's like the fundamentals, the blocking and tackling of IT and cyber in the A plus coursework has been it's good to go back and and refresh yourself on that, even if you've been in IT and telecom for ages. So it's been amazing. And then also I'll add, I have existing certifications or had them prior to join the CWCT program. So this coursework has been helpful because it also helps me with my CEUs so that I can, continue those certifications as well. So, no complaints, been great. As far as the job outlook, I won't speak too soon, but I have a really strong possibility for a job that I didn't expect to happen. And so, being part of this program and adding that to my resume was definitely probably a boost to my credentials that made me a strong candidate for this role. So, stay tuned. It's not official yet, but it's looking good, so again, no complaints.
No, thanks for that answer, Hugh. And uh, for what it's worth, I know the A plus course in specific. And this is totally random, but I went to trivia last week, and I was with my girlfriend, and the question was, what does CPU stand for? And she looked at me because she knows I work in IT, and I immediately wrote down, and I'm still getting it wrong. I either said central processing unit or computer processing unit. Either way, I was wrong. But it was like a testament to like there's nothing wrong with going back to the fundamentals, even no matter where you are in your career. So I'm glad you had a good experience in that course and overall in the program. And good luck with what you got going on. I want to ask more, but I probably maybe I won't, but or maybe later I'll touch base with you.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
sure. Yeah, please do.
That's good to hear, Hugh. Well, appreciate that. I'm going to turn it over to Octavius, put you on the spot. Same question as well. We're talking about what the program did to prepare you for the market in cyber.
Okay, so for this one, I'll just start off by saying I haven't actually started officially my cyber career yet. I'm still working as an application support specialist and just trying to transition to the cyber or at least one of the cyber teams in my company. But for me, this program kind of helped me, I think, in two ways that I can think of. The first way is so I was a personal trainer, like working in the fitness area for about 7 years, and I just started in IT about 3 years ago. And I started in application support, so I kind of skipped like basic help desk kind of roles, which was cool, but it also kind of caused me to miss a lot of fundamentals. So this program really helped me kind of take a step back and just it kind of helped me see how like an how the technology is built and the architecture is kind of like in an enterprise environment and kind of gave me a bigger picture while learning the cyber part of it at the same time. So I think it's kind of helped my growth as an IT professional in general. And then specifically on the cyber side, I did get one of the certifications I got through the program was a CEH, and getting that one really helped me get the attention of one of the managers of our security operations team at my company. He's since become the director now, but passing that and kind of getting on his radar helped me to start shadowing with the security operations analysts on his team, and it was amazing. You know, through my studies and through a lot of the hands-on stuff I did in this program, I basically understood everything the analyst was doing. And so I think it really kind of helped me with basic IT knowledge and kind of helped me push me farther down the cyber track as well. And I just accepted a scholarship to the SANS Institute for one of their cyber academies. And I really think they said they had over 3,000 applicants and they only took 81 of us. Um, so I really think the visibility I got from earning 4 certs in this program and just the confidence I have more in my skills really helped me stand out as an applicant to receive that scholarship. Um, so I feel confident. I've learned a lot from this program. I think it's prepared me more for IT jobs and cyber jobs, but I'm still learning.
No, I really appreciate that, Octavius, and really good to hear about the Sense Academy. Congrats on that. And CEH is no joke. If you don't mind me asking, did you use a voucher for that through our program?
Yes, that
Good.
was the only one I used a voucher for. Actually, I used a voucher for CHFI as well. The other ones, the cyber ops comes with a discount if you do well on the final exam in the class. So that one was pretty cheap, and Security Plus was not too bad. So yeah, I saved that voucher for the big one.
No, no, I'm not surprised. I know the price has changed, but I've seen it push $1,000. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you were able to get that voucher and congrats on that. So thank you, Octavius. That's great. I'm gonna turn that over to Charles and then Michael. So Charles, same question to you. And again, after I do these round of questions, I'm gonna do kind of like an open-ended one that anybody can jump in on. But Charles, I'll read it again. How did the program prepare you for the job market in cyber/IT?
Well, for everyone else joining in, we were talking about this right before. I was talking with Steve about this. So I'm kind of like the started in cyber, but very quickly navigated to other waters. I would definitely say this is a great program for entering into IT in general. I think IT and cybersecurity are joined at the hip, and at least a lot of people nowadays that are getting into IT are going to be required some kind of cybersecurity training as part of their job, whether it be help desk. So I foresee this becoming like a thing in the future where anything in IT is going to require you to have some kind of cybersecurity background. But at the same time, I found well other loves, I guess you'd say, within the IT field. I went into DevOps, which is more into software development and cloud administration. That was a quickly a nice, I'd say, a nice hard right, because it involved actually getting used to the cloud, AWS, Google Cloud Platform, Azure. I got a bunch of certifications, and those are excellent tools to have underneath your belt, not just for cybersecurity, but for anything in IT, since that's never going to go away in the near future. And then I'm pivoting more into like a data engineer role because of what I'm doing with Johnson & Johnson. And I'm taking classes still with CWCT for Python and the AI. So when Octavius was talking about, this program kind of opened up different opportunities for him, I pretty much the whole panel probably could agree with this. It opened up opportunities for me as well, not just in jobs and employment, but also in education, as I was able to, just like Octavius, utilize the certifications I had to transfer into college to apply for the GI STEM bill, and then get that to go back to school. So all these things are kind of intertwined, that once you start going down a specific path, you're going to maybe change your direction, but it's all leading to something better. CWCT just happened to be those beginning steps for me. And where I'm right now, I would join these things all the time if I could with you, Steve, because I can't express the gratitude I have for this program.
Oh, that's really good to hear, Charles. And I actually really appreciate you talking about just pivoting and trying to find things that you enjoy and what's good for your career and what you're going to be happy with doing. Out of curiosity, out of the panel, how many of you have a traditional like baccalaureate or post-bac degree in cyber? IT? So I think that's in nor I. Mine's in geology. So I think that's or environmental science, geology. I mean, I think it's interesting how we all get there. So I really appreciate that, Charles. So, Michael, how did the CWCT prepare you for the market that you're working in?
So I was out of the IT field for quite some time. I was always the kid. I was always into IT as a kid, as a teenager. I was into reading Hacker Quarterly. That's kind of like what led me into communications, my interest in communications in the military. And then on the civilian side, I was an IT specialist, a lead technical support. I worked for Walgreens Pharmacy. I responded to the 9/11 terror attacks, and I was there for 3 days, and I worked on a pile with FDNY. I saw all the horrific things that happened there and all the loss of life. And I vowed that I would take the fireman's exam when I got back home. When I got back home, I did just that. A couple of weeks went by, and I saw the fireman exam come up, and I took it, and I left it at that. I was deployed a couple of times to the Middle East, and I forgot about it. When I got back, I went back to my civilian job as a technical support for a school system. And I got a call from our battalion chief and offered me the job working in the fire department, and I became a captain there. Long story short, I was out of the field for 15 years. I was doing the fire department for 15 years. So I was out of IT completely for 15 years. Got hurt on the job, and I had to retire. So I was left scratching my head. And that's when I went to CWCT, and I decided I wanted to do cybersecurity. 15 years out of IT is a long time. It changes so quickly. We all know it. IT, information technology just changes in the blink of an eye. And I knew I needed a good foundation, and I found that in CWCT. So, I got to say, at the very beginnings of CWCT, I already had an A+ certification, so I didn't have to do that. But Linux, going through Linux, learning Linux was big, because a lot of the tools that attackers use, as well as defenders, all work on command line interface. You need to know Linux. At the very foundation of that, the CWCT program gave me a good knowledge base on how to get in and out of Linux and work and start binaries and do all kinds of stuff. So that in itself was fantastic. All the course material that came after that, I mean, it opened, like I said, it opened my eyes to how attacks work back and forth, how we defend, how we attack, what it looks like on screen to see an actual distributed denial of service attack coming in, encryption, password attacks. I mean, you name it. All the different facets of cybersecurity, whether it be vulnerability, whether it be sort of red teaming, blue teaming, purple teaming, it all kind of touches. CWCT courses all kind of touch on that and give you a very good, solid, broad overall foundation on what you need to be an analyst or an incident responder. So I found it. I found it to be very, very invaluable. It set me up for success. Like I said, I did transition to another school after that, and because of the knowledge that I gained from CWCT, I breezed through some of these top certifications in some of these other schools just based on the knowledge that I gained from there. And at work, and I'm soon, like I said, I was offered a role as a cybersecurity analyst, and I am accepting. I will be starting in a couple of weeks. I'm onboarding right now, and I expect to use a lot of the foundations that I picked up from this program in my new role. So again, very, very thankful.
Thanks, Michael. I think that's a really good answer. Very excited for your new role, and I'd be remiss not to say I appreciate you sharing that story of now 23 years ago in a few weeks now, and your experience there. And I won't say any more there. Thank you. So I really appreciate the panelists talking about and we're kind of wrapping up for those that are just joining us. We're wrapping up the panelists discussing a little bit about what the CWCT program did for them in regards to preparing them for the cyber market. So my next question, I'm going to popcorn it out to the group. The attendees tonight, we've got a little over 100. Many of them are current students or they're prospective students who are interested in starting our program in the October cohort. So think about kind of those two populations when you think about how you might want to answer this question. What advice would you give to current or prospective students of the CWCT program? So whether they are just taking their A plus and they're just starting out and they're hoping to finish in the year, they're thinking about starting the program, whether they are finishing their very last class and they're doing their interviews and they're getting ready, what advice, and again, this is open to any panelist that wants to take this first, what advice would you give to a current or prospective CWCT student from the chair you're sitting in right now? Octavius, please hit us.
Yes, the first thing that comes to mind is I think just take advantage of the labs as much as possible. I know with the courses, if you plan to take the certification, you kind of get caught between preparing for the certification and trying to actually pick up the skills from doing the hands-on stuff in the classes. So I guess it's kind of hard to say, but I just say take advantage of it. Work hard enough to be able to spend a lot of times doing the labs over and over and over. Like do the lab, turn it in, and then go back and do it over and over. And then also try to find time to study for the test as well. Because you want the certification for visibility, but if you get the certification and you get to an interview and you can't confidently answer a question, then the certification is pointless, kind of. So I say get the cert and kind of burn the hands-on stuff into your brain too.
Thanks, Octavius. So if you don't mind me asking, how many classes did you take at a time? Were you two or one at a time?
When I first started, I took 2 courses, and then after that, I was in kind of a cycle of studying for a certification and taking a course at the same time. So after the first go around, I stuck with 1 course at a time.
Okay, good to hear. That's great. And how many hours a week? And I'm not trying to like hit you with crazy questions, but I think people out there and some of them in the chat have asked stuff like this. How many hours a week do you think you were kind of setting aside to knock out your homework and your labs and make sure you get to class or watch the recordings?
Man, it's hard to say.
Ballpark. I mean, just kind of what do you think you devoted to a week?
Let's see. I mean, outside of class.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So if you have one class, you got 3 hours of lecture 2 times a week. So I was doing at least 3 hours of studying each day, give or take a day or two, maybe. So I say like kind of like a part-time job, like 20 hours a week. Sometimes I would catch up or just do extra on the weekends. So I could I could study 4 hours on Saturday and four on Sunday. So yeah, about 20 to 25 hours a week, I would say.
No, I think that's a great answer. No, I appreciate that, Octavius. I mean, that's definitely no joke, but it sounds, doable. So I kind of like that you consolidated by saying like part-time job-ish. I think a lot of students have felt like it was definitely like that. Well,
Oh yeah.
appreciate your thoughts there. I'll open up to the rest of the panelists. What advice would you give to prospective or current students? Margarita, hit me.
Okay. As far as advice, I have a lot of advice to give. I usually give it to everyone who comes in when I meet them. I forgot to mention, I didn't mention it in the beginning, but I'm a military spouse. So when I came in, and not to not to point out my military folk, but a lot of the people that are military affiliated, networking. Networking for sure. I was just having it. You got to network. You got to network. And they're like, no, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. I'm just going to do my course and I'll be fine. I'll just get hired. Like, no, network, please. LinkedIn, LinkedIn, you got to pay attention to your LinkedIn. You got to make sure it's optimized. Make sure you have a nice picture of yourself on there. You have on there that you're doing the CWCT courses. And again, connecting with everybody on there. You want to make sure you're updating your resume as well, keeping it up to date. And as far as the actual courses themselves, the only one I recommended to most of my friends and other people that I know was the cyber ops course. That one, the labs, I'm not gonna lie. Um, it can be a lot. It can be a lot. That for sure, I would recommend take it on its own. And you don't want to fall behind. Make sure I know it's kind of hard when it's like sometimes when you don't make it to class and you're just kind of watching recordings, or if you even skip the recordings and just go to the material itself, make sure you are still paying attention to your labs, you're doing your assignments, you're communicating with the instructors as well, and you're being open with them. If you can't make it, if you get sick, if you're pulled away on an assignment, you need to make sure you are communicating, letting them know what's going on. And then I do love that usually Chrissy will check in and say, hey, how's it going? Do you need to drop the course? Everything okay? I think I even got a phone call a couple of times, which I loved. That really threw me off, but I loved it because I was like, oh, they're checking on me. They care. So that I loved that I was able to. I know for sure I dropped a course actually recently. I was like, Chrissy, I can't do it. It's too, I just can't do it. I couldn't do it. I don't have enough bandwidth. And another, again, I will emphasize again, network, network. I forgot to mention how many opportunities I have come across just by networking. I will give you some quick examples. I held a chief security officer role and a security analyst role for a nonprofit for a little bit, just from networking, just by saying, hey, I'm willing to volunteer my time. I'm willing to help out. I'm going through my courses, I'm learning. Boom. They saw that I was interested and that I was willing to work. So they brought me in. And I've, like I said, I've made other volunteer. Don't be afraid to volunteer too while you're taking the course. To volunteer with like other organizations. There's a lot of organizations out there who do cyber. So just kind of connect with, make a connection. Find something that you like. There's a lot of groups out there always offering free resources. And I think that's it. I have little notes. Yeah, that's it.
No, that's perfect, Margarita. And the only two quick comments I'll have before I go to Charles and Michael. I posted in the chat. You mentioned LinkedIn. We had a really cool thing with LinkedIn. I posted the video recording if any of you want to see it. It's kind of cool. And the other thing that you mentioned, Margarita, is just networking in general. I really love you hitting on that. The only thing I would add, you said it perfectly, is I often work with veterans, especially that will make a connection and they're not like the right person at that company for the role. There's nothing wrong with saying, thank you so much for your time. Do you know who I could talk to? to learn more about where I want to go, yada yada. And there's nothing. So I just think that you're crushing it, Margarito. Networking. Can't say it enough, but super crucial. Thank you so much. Charles, we'll go to you. I saw your hand raised next, and then Michael. What advice would you give?
Not to go too far down the networking path, because I think that was definitely covered. I would just expand upon it. LinkedIn's a good tool for a lot of things, networking and researching. Maybe not as much as the job finding. There are a lot of other ones out there, but it's good. It's a good talking point when it comes to not just military members or any kind of members in general. Whatever your background is, find out what resources are available for you. If you are military, there is not a shortage. There's quite a plethora amount of resources that are available. I don't know about any other types of groups or backgrounds, but there's just a lot of resources available. Networking helps you uncover some of them. Networking will help you continue to find more of them. And then next thing you know, you can take advantage of a lot of things that you may be entitled to that come with or supplement your education here at CWCT. That's how I found out what was good for me. I just kept on looking, and next thing you know, I knew the VA offered reimbursement if you had certification costs, as long as you had some kind of remaining benefit for your post 9/11 GI Bill. I found out other programs that offer a little bit of training or another certification. These are all complementary to what you're trying to achieve, at least what I think you're trying to achieve by joining this program, which is getting into IT, whether it be cybersecurity focused or not, and then trying to expand upon there. Definitely networking leads to more paths than you would imagine, and the resources just help you continue on that path until you find out where you want to be.
Perfect, Charles. No, I think you're still hitting the exact point that I think we all like to get across and we like to mention. So I appreciate that advice to all those current prospective students. I think it's perfect. So thank you so much. We're going to go to Michael and then Hugh. And I think for the folks tuning in, then we'll probably move to a Q&A. So if you've got questions, start writing them down, start thinking about them, because we'll start calling out for raised hands with the Zoom feature. So Michael, hit us.
I just wanted to add that the cybersecurity field is important because there is a war going on right now. We're constantly being attacked: infrastructure, education, finance, you name it, all across the board. You get attacks from everywhere. So you all are here for a particular reason, because you're interested in maybe being a cybersecurity analyst or maybe being that incident handler. I just want to let you know that it's not easy. So you have to have the mindset of deciding what you want to do. If you really want this, it's attainable. You can do it. You got to put your blinders on. You have to set your sights on what you want to do, and you just have to go all in. This is the type of field where you're constantly learning. There's a lot of reading. You're going to come across difficult concepts that may blow your mind, and you may very well get in your mind and say, I just can't do this. This is just too much. You can do it. You have to set your mind to it. It's all about having that mindset in place. A lot of these things kind of sort of tend to repeat themselves. A lot of the course material tends to overlap. So maybe when you don't get that concept right away, you might get it later on down the line, or you may just reach out to a colleague or a friend or somebody in your network and figure it out from there. It's important to really be part of the community and to interact with community. Like Margarita was saying, be part of a group. That goes a long way. Listen to podcasts. It's not only like one dimensional. Just open it all up so that you're interacting in various ways with groups, learning on your own, setting up a home lab for yourself so that you can practice some of the material that you've learned, and really interacting with the LinkedIn community. Also, a great way to get yourself a little exposure is setting up a blog, journaling what you do. If you're doing things at home and nobody knows that you're doing them, then you're almost not doing them. Let people know what you're doing. Just advertise, what you're working on, the different concepts that you're learning, and that lets recruiters and everybody else in the community know that you're really into the job or into becoming an analyst or any other part of cyber. So yeah, I just wanted to add to the fact that it can be a tough field. But if you set your mind to it, you most certainly can do it.
No, thank you, Michael. I really want to echo what you said about just writing down what you do. I mean, it's really easy when someone asks you what kind of skills do you have at your current job to give a couple of quick ones when really you have this long list of often very technical things that you can offer an employer that you can put on a resume, you can highlight on LinkedIn. So I really like you mentioning that. So very much so. Thank you, Michael. That's great advice. Hugh, last but not least, what do you got for us?
Yeah, sure. I'll just share some personal advice. What really helped me, you know, just stay engaged, stay, active within the program. I put reminders on my calendar, like, hey, I have class, on these days. Yeah, I mean, I know I had class, but just seeing it on my calendar made me, reinforce like, the discipline and my dedication to getting there or at least listening to the recordings, and communicate with the professors, communicate with the staff like Amber, Chrissy, Fatima, and you too, Steve, are great. They're there to help. If you are having any challenges or being unable to keep up with the work, let it be known. I had a class. I was taking a class over the summer, and we were traveling. We have a one kid at the time we had a 3-year-old, just our 3-year-old daughter. And so it was hard and I can't keep up. And so I just let Chrissy know and Amber, or well, Fatima, and, like, okay, no problem. And I was able to, retake the class again the next session when I had more time. And communicate with your classmates. I see Margarita shared that Discord link, and I came in. It seemed like at the tail end of it. It was very active. It still, it was great, just to communicate with the other students, find out what's happening in this class, or what to be aware of. Like, oh, don't take this class with another one because it's too, a lot of labs. So I was like, okay, that's good to know. So hopefully, I'm not as engaged in the Discord channel as I was at one time, but hopefully it's still there, and hopefully it's still that great of a resource to the students. So yeah, so just be realistic with your time, stay engaged, and communicate, with the staff, professors, and your fellow classmates. That's the best advice I can give.
I think that's perfect advice, Hugh, especially connecting with those professors, connecting with your classmates. I mean, you you really can't undersell how important that really could be. Thank you so much for your advice. I appreciate you sharing. That's awesome. I know Brad. Brad, you were able to join us. Brad, were you able to get your camera on? I think I see you. Um, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Sorry
Hey,
about that.
no,
Yeah, my bad, man. The traffic here in Philly is rough. But yeah, I would love to talk about any other specs. I don't know if we're running out of time here. I know it said 7 and 9, so hopefully I can get in here and give my end of the pie from the CWCT program.
you're perfect, Brad. No, no, no. Things happen. No problem. I appreciate you still being able to make some time to hop on with us. I think we probably got like 3 minutes until I was hoping to do a Q&A. So
Okay,
if you want to give kind of a brief overview, I know we kind of are talking about
sure.
advice, but if you want to do a quick intro about who you are, what CWCT did for you, and then any advice you'd give in 3 minutes or less, if that's cool, that would be great.
I accept the challenge. Okay, so
Awesome.
so I'll say I was in a pretty unique situation where COVID caused me to lose my job. From there, I found the CWCT program through I don't know, like Reddit posts and some other stuff like that. From there, I was able to leverage a friend of mine um, to get into a position where I was going to be just kind of halfway through the CWCT program, and I have a network engineering background, right? So I was able to get into a corporate job again after the crazy COVID stuff. And then from there, I completed the CWCT, and it inspired me. I've been going to DEF CON, the hacking convention in Vegas, for years. Like I've been to many of them. And I finally was inspired to actually do a competition. So I currently work with an operational technology company. I took a lot of the CWCT knowledge to get my CEH, and then I took a lot of that knowledge and put it together to actually compete. I ended up getting third place at the operational technology villages contest, and that top three, I got third place, and the winner of the top three actually got a black badge. And anyone that knows about DEF CON, that's a pretty that's a big resume builder right there. And yeah, from there, I ended up for my job. They have an internal R&D department. So my job once a quarter is to work with the team that goes to the R&D sites, and we actually try to hack those sites, and we report on them and talk about the vulnerabilities and things. And I also basically run the blue team for kind of a national component of everything. So I definitely come from a lot of background in the computer science industry, but the CWCT, like, it rocket shipped me into things I never thought I could get involved with. So that's my piece. Hopefully that was 3 minutes or less.
Yeah, you did in less. No, and congrats on the black badge. I think that's a really good kind of talking point. I'm glad you're here because we're going to do a bit of a Q&A. So I'm glad that the program worked well for you. Thanks for making time to join us. I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you, Brad. And I know we've talked before, and I'm excited for what's going to be in your future as well. So really, I think what we'll do now, we're rounding out about 1 hour, and I want to be mindful of our panelist time and everyone that's in the call. So what I'd like to do now is an old-fashioned Q&A, but in the new fashion of Zoom, where the first person to click the hand button, Amber and me are going to try and finagle to see who's going to be the one to ask that question. So if you have a question, and I'm actually going to stop sharing this screen because it's kind of difficult for me to see everybody. Did I stop sharing? I did, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Amber.
Yep.
As it was alluded to earlier in the night, Amber and Chrissy, kind of like Margarita, you were mentioning, they called you to make sure everything was good with your classes. Amber and Chrissy do the same with me to make sure I'm on point. So for those that are in the audience, if you have a question for a panelist, whether for the entire panel or a specific panelist, please go ahead and just kind of raise your hand and come off mute, and we'll go ahead and ask it. Imagine there's a microphone in an aisle at a conference. Will, hit us.
Hey, this is more of a statement. I just want to say how proud of I am. I went through the program, and all you guys are awesome. Margarita, huge fan of everything that you do. You inspire lots of people, and you guys keep rocking it. Keep doing some great work. So thank you.
Thank you, William.
I should have said kudos are welcome too. Thank you, William. That's great. That's a good shout out for you, Margarita. Terry, please, what you got?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Terry.
Hey, how are you guys? Thank you so much for sharing your story. Really appreciate it. I'm currently going through the program now. And it's definitely the support that's given by Amber and the whole team is definitely well received and much needed, especially for me, who I'm coming off a 20-year plus career in law enforcement and pivoting into IT. So my question really is, how long after taking the program and whoever wants to answer it, did it take to really get that first role? And I know it really depends on, how much you put into obtaining a role, but for someone who's really, pushing through, how long do you think it'll take? Sorry, I said a lot. I apologize.
Oh, it's a great question, Terry. Anybody on the panel want to take a stab at that one? Charles?
I'll give it a go. So I worked with a company, I won't mention them, but it was a train, hire, deploy. Most of the IT field, you'll notice that you kind of fall into two categories. If you're employed, specifically starting out, it's really hard to find a role, and a lot of people join small companies that would actually pivot you into a role because they have clients that are, Fortune 500 companies. That route means less income, but more learning experience. So I would say, generally speaking, it really depends on what you can deal with, what hours you can work, what's going to work for you. I've seen people, myself, I was employed while going through the program. I left the military, took some time off, and then I'd say about 6 months into my retirement, better part of 2022, I started working. And then I pivoted to another role, and now I'm in another role. So it does come down to a lot of factors: where you're at, what jobs you're looking for. Entry level is going to be a fight. I wouldn't say the economy, but the fight's out there. It's real. So yeah, there's a lot. Realistically, I would say if you are trying every day and not taking the good with the bad, that there's nothing that would prevent you. But I'm close to Seattle, so realistically, large metropolitan area, it's easier for me. If you were somewhere that less populated, you're gonna find harder positions, entry level, and then working remotely even harder. So a lot of variables to crunch down, but I would say 3 to 6 months for any job, for any real job, it's real. If you got the job and you only took about a couple weeks to get into the position, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's probably an entry level position, and you're going to take time to learn that position. So any way you see it, if you're looking to get paid or if you're looking for a salary and income, there are ways to get there faster, but at a lesser rate. If you're going to do it your way or for a higher rate, then and be competitive, it's going to take longer.
That's a great answer, Charles. I'm going to go to Hugh to answer that as well, and then we're going to go to Rashama Sheikh to ask the next question.
I definitely agree with Charles that there's a lot of variables. Like with me, because I'm living abroad, I'm like kind of like the primary caretaker for a 4-year-old daughter and then also a soon-to-be 6-month-old son. So my time is limited. So my role, the type of roles I was looking for were really challenging, like part-time, flexible, anyhow. But for your, it depends on like if your location and your availability. I mean, I could see even while you're in the program, especially once you complete a few courses, people will start looking towards you. You might start getting some job offers before you even complete. Because I mean, people were reaching out to me, for like part-time roles or some volunteer work even before I had finished the program because I had updated my LinkedIn profile and updated my resume with some of the CWCT information and coursework. But, once you complete the program, and you're aggressively out there pursuing opportunity, I could see, like Charles said, like within 3 to 6 months, I would say even before you even complete it, you probably can get some job offers, coming your way, especially if you're out there networking and if you're out there, making sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date, your resume is updated, putting your information out there, applying to these roles. But definitely the networking and just being, participating in these forums, these webinars. There's a lot of opportunity out there now. It's an abundance. It's almost overwhelming. It's just finding what you want to do, finding out what's your availability, making sure you're pursuing that type of opportunity that you really want and just going for it.
Thank you, Hugh. And I especially like you saying, especially if, when you say 3 to 6 months, especially if you're networking, and for those that are in there right now who are thinking, gosh, I gotta get on LinkedIn after this meeting and I gotta really get my profile, I gotta start networking. I'm looking at you. You're in the room with people you can network with. You're looking at panelists you can network with. You're looking at colleagues that have made it in the field. You're looking at graduates, those that are working. That is networking. That's a great start if you are brand new to it. So thank you, Hugh. That's a great answer. I'm gonna go to Rashama, and I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong because I know it's like all connected. Rashama Sheikh.
Yes. My name is pronounced Rashman. It's okay. Most
Sorry.
people, it's okay. The question I had is I have a background in statistics and I have done Python programming and I'm just wondering if like the program has any need for teaching assistants because that could like use my skills as well.
I think that's a really good question, Reshma. I think I'll send you a message with my email address, and maybe we could connect and have a conversation. Does that sound okay?
That sounds great. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll send it in like a Zoom, or I'll put my email in here, and then actually I'll put it in for everybody. But please send me one in specific,
Okay.
and in reference to that, we can absolutely have a conversation. Thank you. I'm going to go to William. What you got for us?
Good evening, everyone. This is for the panel. So, I've been with my company for 3.5 years. And my question is, any advice on, um, speaking with, my leadership team and our enterprise security team on, how I can, um, how can I put it, provide, you know, what I learned, um, what I learned within the program to the company, and how can a company benefit from my coursework, the coursework that I learned.
And before I let the panel come in, I'd say that I think what you're kind of hinting at there, William, is kind of like translating what you did in the program and trying to highlight that, right, to your current employer, whether it's upskilling or like what you can just translate from this massive amount of information you learned and how do you leverage that? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So how do I transition that to, um, like you said, upskilling? How do I transition that over, and how can I be a benefit, to the company?
Perfect. All right, Charles, take a stab.
I had similar issue. The company I was working for, um, I wanted to continue with that company in expanding my positions. I'm guessing that's what you're trying to get at. You're like, hey, I like the company I work with. I really want to stay with them. How can I, convey that information to my employer? Like, hey, can I shift roles? Um, it's honest truth. Some employers will let you do that. Some employers need you exactly where you are. So you have to weigh the pros and the cons of putting yourself out there, going through the process of looking for that position where you want to be that can take the knowledge that you learned from CWCT and apply it, or stay in the position and convince your employer to give you a chance somewhere else in the company. I I can tell you what path I took. It wasn't the easiest path, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. That's where I am today, and that's because I decided to go a different direction. I'm not saying that you have to do that. There are several different employers out there that would love to say, "Hey, I love what you're doing. Please, can we apply this? Thank you for articulating, what you can provide for our company." If that's your goal, 100% see where you are in specifically your vulnerabilities, how you're mitigating risks and stuff like that, and then convey the knowledge that you're learning from this course and how that can be applied to benefit your organization. Most organizations with decent managers, they would notice this and be like, you know what? We do have this position over here. Are you interested? Sometimes it's just putting yourself out there.
Excellent answer, Charles. Thank you so much. Um, I love that. Put yourself out there. That's kind of like a tagline. If I could pull the most crucial thing away from there, practice your elevator speech, right? Or your elevator pitch, excuse me. Um, your elevator speech, if you will. Forget what they usually call it. But I appreciate that answer, Charles. I think that is definitely digging into what William's trying to get at. Michael, what's your take on the question of how to kind of translate these skills?
With cyber, it's just so wide in the range of everything in cybersecurity. From vulnerability to threat hunting to incident responding to working on the SIM. I mean, you can go in so many different directions to governance and compliance. I think for him is probably he might benefit from getting a little intel from the team and from the company itself, and kind of look at what it is they're looking to do, where they need help, what skills are required, where they're lacking. Do they need help with automation? Do they need help with scripting? Do they need help with responding to incidents and maybe managing their SIM or log aggregation? Just kind of doing a little intel and finding what it is exactly that they need to be maybe a better team, or and that might give them kind of like that avenue of approach where he can be like, okay, well, I studied this in Cisco CyberOps, and I learned this from Linux, and I learned this in Ethical Hacker, and I can kind of pull all these resources together and maybe offer this assistance to them and just kind of say, hey, listen, I can help you guys out with this, and this, and that might give them a little leverage and maybe get your foot in the door there. But yeah, do a little intel and find out what they need, or what value can you bring to the team. In essence, that might help.
I think that's also I think that's good advice, Michael. I think that's also a question that would be for lack of a better word, scary to sometimes say, but I think it's an important one to actually ask your employer, like, what are you looking for? So I like how you kind of made a concise statement of saying, get the intel, kind of a word we throw around in the military community, um, as well. But I think that's really beneficial. So, thank you to the panelists for answering that question, William. I really hope you gleaned a good bit from our folks here that'll help guide you in your career. Since I don't see any hands raised right now, I'm not going to necessarily sign off, but I want to take a moment. And if you do have a question, raise your hand, use that Zoom function. I want to say a huge thank you to our panelists. So, Michael, Charles, Hugh, Marguerite, Octavius, Brad, thank you so much for taking your time out on a Thursday evening to get on a Zoom to talk about your experience, but it's really, really beneficial. So I want to say a heartfelt thank you from me, from Amber, from Chrissy, but also to all of our current and prospective students for taking the time to just talk about your own experience. And I heard a lot of really cool things tonight about new jobs, recent certs passed, advice to others about how to navigate the cyber career, how to transition out of the military. I think that's all really, really important stuff. So again, for those in the Zoom, if you can hit that react button, throw them a congrats, a thank you, a clapping hands. Um, Thank you so much to our panelists. If we were in a room, one day maybe we can do a CWCT in person. Maybe we'll do a conference. Maybe we'll do a panel in person. I think that would be so fun for all of our graduates and all of our students. Uh, but thank you so much for your time. And not to be too selfish, but I'll also throw my own LinkedIn as well. If any of you want to connect with me, if you have questions about the program, if you have questions about where you want to go in your career, I'm happy to answer them the best I can. And I often will send somebody else your way. If it's a very specific question about certs or criteria, it's Amber and Chrissy. If it's a specific field or a company you're interested in and I have a connection, I'm happy to do that very powerful LinkedIn introduction or the CC email intro. You'd be surprised how far that can go with a lot of the folks that I've talked to in the past. Does anybody else have any questions for our panelists? Or I know I did a program called 4Block. If any of you are familiar with 4Block, they're a really great military transition nonprofit. And one of my coaches and mentors when I transitioned out of the military had just kind of he was a Navy guy, but he liked to end conversations like this with an anchor. So he often would and in this case, I'm going to ask a panelist um, to anchor this conversation. And really, that's just like it doesn't have to be the most powerful thing in the world, but it's an anchoring statement that just kind of solidifies everything we've talked about tonight as kind of a message to everybody out there that's listening. So who would like to volunteer to be our anchor out of our panelists? Please don't make me do it. Well, Margarita's calling you out, Charles. Pointing to you probably all have different people as your left and right, right?
Okay. What I would say is opportunity doesn't knock twice. Okay. So if you see the opportunity that is in front of you, yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to be complicated. But if you don't take advantage of it now, the question is when is? So don't wait to answer. You know what I mean? Jump in, apply, try, and don't be dissuaded. Your actions lead to greater things. Know that.
Well said, Charles. Thanks for doing that. And kind of angering us out there. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording. So one more thank you for our panelists. One more thank you for our attendees. To Chrissy and Amber, who had the often thankless job of helping me sift through the comment section and answer the many questions from our attendees. So I'm going to turn off the recording. If any panelists or attendees want to stick around, I'll be here for a little while to answer questions. And to the panelists, feel free to hop off. But if you want to stick around for anybody that wants to ask a question, that would be perfectly fine as well. So I'm going to go ahead and